Hello, Story Store listeners. If you guys like this story, please subscribe to Story Store and hit the bell icon. Thank you. The stark white walls of the hospital hummed with quiet chaos. Nurses shuffled between rooms, and the faint beeping of machines filled the air. She sat there, elegant, poised, with an air of untouchable confidence. Isabella Harrington was not the type to frequent public hospitals. Her designer handbag rested on the seat beside her, a silent declaration of her status. She wasn't here by choice, her driver had taken ill, and she'd graciously allowed herself this inconvenience. A sudden, piercing cry broke her concentration. Across the room, a little boy sat crumpled on the cold floor, clutching a bandaged arm. His tear-streaked face was a picture of misery, but Isabella's gaze barely lingered. She returned to scrolling on her phone, her manicured fingers tapping against the screen. "Mama," the boy sobbed, his voice trembling with desperation. A nurse tried to soothe him, but he pushed her away, his tiny body shaking with anguish. Isabella's lip curled in mild annoyance. Children were always so loud, so unrefined. The boy's cries grated against her carefully constructed bubble of detachment. She sighed, glancing at her watch. Surely she wouldn't have to endure this much longer. The door to the waiting room swung open and a man strode in. His presence was commanding, his expression a mix of worry and strength. He knelt beside the boy, gathering him into his arms with a tenderness that made the room feel smaller, quieter. Isabella glanced up, her disinterest faltering. There was something familiar about him, though she couldn't quite place it. As the man comforted the boy, Isabella's curiosity grew. She studied his face, his mannerisms. And then it hit her. Alexander Reed. The name echoed in her mind like a distant bell. Years ago, he had been a rising star in the corporate world, a man of ambition and integrity. They'd crossed paths briefly at a gala, where his vision for community-focused business practices had drawn attention. She had dismissed him then, much as she had dismissed the boy earlier. Isabella shifted uncomfortably. She prided herself on her sharp memory, her ability to categorize people and events. Yet, seeing Alexander here, dressed in worn jeans and a simple jacket, holding a crying child, didn't align with her image of him. What had happened? Why was he here? Questions buzzed in her mind, but she kept her expression neutral. The nurse approached Alexander, explaining the boy's condition. Isabella caught snippets of their conversation. A minor fracture, a need for follow-up care. The boy, Ethan, clung to his father, his tears finally subsiding. Alexander thanked the nurse, his gratitude genuine. Isabella's phone buzzed, a reminder of an upcoming meeting. She hesitated, her usual decisiveness wavering. As Alexander stood to leave, he glanced in her direction. Their eyes met, and a flicker of recognition passed between them. He nodded politely, a shadow of the confident man she'd once known. Isabella's chest tightened, an unfamiliar sensation creeping in. She opened her mouth to speak but found no words. Days later, Isabella found herself in a cafe, seeking solace in a cup of overpriced coffee. She spotted Alexander at a corner table, his laptop open, papers scattered around him. Ethan sat beside him, coloring with intense focus. Against her better judgment, she approached. "Alexander Reed," she said, her voice smoother than she felt. He looked up, surprised. Recognition dawned, followed by a polite smile. "Isabella Harrington," he replied. "It's been a while." She gestured to the empty chair, and he nodded. Their conversation began cautiously, a dance of guarded words and probing questions. Alexander shared his story, his voice steady despite the undercurrent of struggle. The ambitious projects that had failed, the financial setbacks, the loss of his wife, and the challenges of raising Ethan alone. Isabella listened, her usual detachment eroding with each word. His resilience was both humbling and unsettling. That evening, Isabella sat in her penthouse, staring out at the city lights. Alexander's words echoed in her mind, stirring something she couldn't quite name. She thought of Ethan's tears, of the moment she'd chosen indifference over compassion. For the first time in years, she questioned her priorities. The next morning, Isabella's assistant handed her a message. Alexander had called, thanking her for their conversation and inviting her to an upcoming community event. She hesitated but found herself intrigued. Against her better judgment, she decided to attend. The event was nothing like the galas Isabella frequented. It was held in a modest community center filled with people from all walks of life. Alexander's passion was evident as he spoke about his initiatives. Isabella felt out of place, but oddly inspired. Alexander's projects were struggling due to a lack of funding. Isabella saw an opportunity. She proposed a partnership, offering financial support in exchange for a role in shaping the initiatives. Alexander's initial skepticism gave way to cautious optimism. As the weeks passed, Isabella spent more time with Alexander and Ethan. She found herself drawn to the boys' infectious laughter and unguarded joy. Slowly, she began to understand the world beyond her privileged bubble. Isabella's involvement in Alexander's projects deepened. She brought her business acumen, helping to streamline operations and attract new donors. The work challenged her, forcing her to confront her biases and reevaluate her values. Not everyone welcomed Isabella's presence. Some saw her as an outsider, a wealthy benefactor with no real understanding of their struggles. She faced criticism but chose to persevere, driven by a growing sense of purpose. During a quiet moment, Alexander shared a story about his late wife and her belief in the power of kindness. The story resonated with Isabella, stirring memories of her own mother, a woman of simple but profound wisdom. She realized how far she'd drifted from those values. Ethan's birthday approached, and Isabella decided to plan a celebration. She spared no effort, creating an event that blended her flair for elegance with the warmth of community. Seeing Ethan's joy filled a void she hadn't realized existed. Her relationship with Alexander evolved, moving beyond business into something deeper. They found solace in each other's company, their shared experiences forging a bond neither had anticipated. A sudden financial setback threatened the success of their initiatives. Isabella's determination shone as she rallied her contacts, securing the resources needed to keep the projects afloat. During a fundraiser, Isabella delivered a heartfelt speech, sharing her journey and newfound understanding. Her vulnerability touched the audience, strengthening support for their cause. A chance meeting with an old acquaintance forced Isabella to confront her past indifference. She realized how much she had changed and how far she still had to go. Isabella and Alexander's collaboration flourished, their combined efforts transforming the community. They began to dream of expanding their work, reaching more people in need. On a quiet evening, Alexander proposed not just a future together, but a partnership in life and purpose. Isabella's heart swelled as she said yes, her once guarded world now open and full. Their wedding was a simple yet joyous affair, attended by those whose lives they had touched. It symbolized not just their union, but a commitment to a shared mission. As partners, Isabella and Alexander expanded their initiatives, creating opportunities and fostering hope. Their work became a beacon of change, inspiring others to join their cause. Ethan thrived, his laughter a constant reminder of the power of love and compassion. Isabella cherished her role in his life, embracing the joy of motherhood. Years later, Isabella looked back on her journey with gratitude. The woman who had once ignored a crying boy had been transformed by a moment of connection and the courage to care. Indifference is easy, but it robs us of the chance to make a difference. True wealth lies in the connections we build, the lives we touch, and the love we give. Isabella's journey was a testament to the transformative power of compassion, a reminder that even the smallest act of kindness can change everything.